We should say that you and I actually met for the first time about 30 minutes ago.
Right.
You were wearing a bathrobe, swimming trunks, and you were smoking what I believe to be
I was holding what you believe to be a You cannot prove that I was smoking. Unless you want to do a blood test right now.
Okay, can we?
No. I'm just, you get a warrant.
Okay.
Is what I'll say.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
starting this interview off
Are you
like
a cop?
Yeah.
Are you a cop? You have to tell them if you're a cop.
I'm not a cop.
Or this entire interview is entrapment.
I'm not a cop.
Okay. My life's an open book.
Is it?
I think so.
I believe that.
Good. Then I've fooled you already. But what's going on over here? Are those our people? Can we stop whatever that's going on? Hey! Lock it down! Everybody wants to be in show business.
How are you? How's work? Super normal?
Yeah, it actually is. Strangely, everything is normal because the show is never normal. The show changes every day. And it's ending in May, I've been informed. But I got 9 months of shows to do. You know, I can't be thinking about it ending in May. I got to think about the show on Monday. So when you say, how's the show? Perfectly normal? Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't that normal when I had to tell everybody that the show was ending. But then, you know, the next Monday I had to do a show.
Yeah. Does 9 months feel like a long time or a short time right now?
The end has a discernible shape, but it still seems like a long way away.
Can you describe that shape?
The image I have is a man walking toward me in the dusk. And he's got something in his hand. And I don't know if it's a knife or an ice cream cone. But he's asking me if I'd like a lick.
I can't tell if this is a bit or this is real. If you're haunted by
What are you talking about? Why would this be a bit? And by the way, it is hard to tell whether things are real or a bit sometimes. To me.
Yes. You're in an interesting business for that.
Yeah, every day you have to come up with a bit about something that was real.
You've been attaching your mouth to the exhaust pipe of news for, I don't know.
That sounds vaguely suicidal.
Yeah. And
you've been running your car in the closed garage of media. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's possible that George Cheek saved my life. So I'll get a little oxygen back into my brain. Do you know what I mean? It really does. It feels like, I really feel like you can only talk every night, do jokes every night with your friends, obviously, but do the jokes every night, year after year, for 20 years. If you give a damn at all about what you're talking about. And I do, but there is a sense of relief that I might not have to put on the snorkel and get into the sewer every day.
Do you have any coping mechanisms when you kind of have to interact with this so relentlessly?
Yeah, the show itself. I think the commonality between the shows since they began, even though tonally they've changed, is in some way reflective of the national conversation. And then you have your part of that conversation that night at the audience or sometimes with a guest. So you have to be well versed in it. So you have to have a lot of information. But also then you get to go say how you feel about it every night with an audience. And, you know, what do we most want to be? Not alone. And I'm not alone when I'm with the audience. The great thing about comedy, not to take anything away from drama, but the great thing about comedy is that you know when it works. The audience makes this noise with their mouth, and that can't really be faked. When it's really working well, you walk off stage with more energy than when you walked on stage. Like, I've never been sick on stage. I've been very sick. I did a show last year where I had a burst appendix, and I did a double show. I didn't know my appendix was burst. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I was like sweating and thought I might pass out, and I was in so much pain that I was crying in commercial breaks. But doing the show, I could just get through it. I did 2 shows. I did a double show that night. And then afterwards, my wife made sure that my driver took me straight to the hospital. And I got there and they said, "Oh, you have a burst appendix. We have to take this out." You know, laughter is the best medicine. And boy, the only better medicine than that is making other people laugh.
And yet the show is ending. I mean.
And yet the show is ending. Really early on in the old Colbert Report, we liked the idea that the character didn't know he was on Comedy Channel. Because he took himself very serious in a Comedy Channel, and he really was changing the course of human history with the tractor beam of his own justice. And And so, of course, there was other news shows on Comedy Central, and we were the last show on. And so we would toss, the way John would toss to me from the Daily Show, we would toss to the morning show on Comedy Central, which we called YAD, which stood for Yet Another Day. And I love the desperation of that, of having to go on and do yet another day. So, and yet, however how much I enjoy it or the audience might enjoy it, yes, the show is ending.
Have you wrapped your head around it?
No, not at all.
What did you feel when you found out?
I was surprised. I was surprised.
Why?
Listen, every show's got to end, but I think we're the first number one show to ever get canceled.
Thinking about that, yeah, you guys have been number one since 2016.
Exactly, and I said I called a friend of mine who's also in late night, and I said, "You got any thoughts on this?" And he goes, "No one's gonna have any thoughts on this. No one's ever been the number one show for like 9 years in a row and then be canceled." We ended Strangers with Candy, which is a show I did 25 years ago. They wouldn't tell us that we were canceled, but at the upfronts, we weren't announced. Because we were still shooting through the summer. At the upfronts, they wouldn't tell us. They didn't announce our show, and they announced the schedule of the show, and we're on the schedule, and our slot on Sunday nights had a show called Strip Mall in it. And we said, "What is going on? Are you canceling our show?" And they said, "No decisions have been made." And so we said, "Fuck that, we're definitely canceled." And we wanted to end by our own light. And so the school that Flat Point High, the school that we were in, slowly it's revealed that the school board has sold it and it's being turned into a strip mall. And so like the history class is now a sticky buttery and the science class is now a dry cleaners. But they keep on saying no decision's been made. And at the end of it, we blew up the school and murdered the school board. But so I had that plan. And then when I knew my last, when I signed my 2012 contract for the Colbert Report, I went to my assistant. I said, "Hey, what's our last show of 2014? She goes, "Looks like December 18th. I said, "Oh, good to know." And I started writing that last show myself. But I had a plan of how to end it. I knew the songs we're going to sing. I knew the jokes we're going to do. I knew how I wanted shot, everything. This is not my choice. I don't know what we're going to do with the last 9 months. Because everything we do on a nightly basis takes everything we know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, people have asked me, "Well, what do you think you're going to do next?" The honest answer is I just want to land this plane gracefully in a way that I find satisfying, given how much effort we've put into it for the last 10 years.
When they called you and told you,
They didn't call me and tell me.
Oh, they did? What happened?
My manager told me.
Okay. So no one called you?
No.
When they called your manager?
They told him, and he told me.
And
he said, "But hey, do you have 15 minutes? I'm going to stop by. Do you have 15 minutes?" And I said, "Sure." So I got off and I said to my assistant, I said, "So Baby Doll wants," because James Baby Doll Dix, Baby Doll wants 15 minutes in person. I mean, it's usually like 5 minutes on the phone is an hour with him. So when 15 minutes comes by, my assistant texted me. I said, "It's going to be a bit," because that's when he'd already.
It might be a little longer. Yeah.
I was so tired. I was lying down on my couch, like with like a pillow over my eyes, going, "Hey James, what's going on? What's going on?" And
so you were in the perfect position.
Perfect position. I was prone. He told me. He sort of that. Yeah, this is gonna be the last season. So I sat up. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. I did not expect that." And then we talked for hours. We just talked for hours. And then I went home, and my wife, who was expecting me home in 15 minutes, and because this is in the city, and she said, "That was 2.5 hours." She goes, "What happened? Did you get canceled?" And I said, "Yep." And she went, "No." I said, "Yeah, no, we did."
Did they?
And so we sat down. She got me a drink, and we sat and talked about like, okay, what do you want to do next? That was it.
Really?
Yeah. Listen, she's a breathtakingly level-headed girl, and she could tell I was upset, and she said, "I want you to let go of that upset, and understand."
Were you able to?
I'll do anything she says. And she's much smarter than I. She's way smarter. Like, people think I'm smart. I'm not really smart. I have a good memory. I know a lot of people smarter than I am. Like, my old writing partner, Paul Dinello, who's one of our producers, John Stewart's more smarter than I am. My wife is smarter than I am. And they almost always give me the same advice. And if hers was, I want you to let go of how angry you are. And I want you to think about what a gift the show has been and to work with these people.
Did the explanation provided to your manager, not you, make sense to you? What was it?
They're getting out of the late night space altogether because it's no longer profitable for the network. And I said, well, if we can't be, then no one can be. Look, they run the business and I run the show. And far be it from me to tell them how to run their business. But I'll stick with, I found it very surprising.
Did you find what they said plausible? Do you believe it?
Television's in huge trouble. Maybe David Ellison will fix everything. No, seriously, maybe he will. But it's clear that television is in a lot of transitions. It's been going on for a long time. But that's not my end of the business. My end of the business is the jokes.
Tell me if I have the sequence of events correct, but CBS pays President Donald Trump a settlement, $16 million, which you called a bribe on air.
Please, don't get me a lawsuit here.
Yeah,
I said, allegedly. I believe
that
there is a name for that, and it would be big fat bribe.
And shortly after that, show's canceled. And so
2 days later.
Yes. Politicians come out like Elizabeth Warren Amshiff and say, if this is politically motivated, the American people deserve to know.
By the way, everything you're telling me right now, you have to tell me right now because I don't read about myself.
Really?
Yeah. Who'd you say?
Adam Schiff.
Elizabeth Warren. Well, good for them. I mean, that's not my job. That's not my reaction to it. My reaction as a professional in show business is to go, that is the network's decision. I can understand why people would have that reaction because CBS or the parent corporation, I'm not going to say who made that decision because I don't know. No one's ever going to tell us. Decided to cut a check for $16 million to the President of the United States over a lawsuit that their own lawyers, Paramount's own lawyers, said is completely without merit. And it is self-evident that is damaging to the reputation of the network, the corporation, and the news division. So it is unclear to me why anyone would do that other than to curry favor with a single individual. And so if people have theories that associate me with that, it's a reasonable thing to think because CBS or the corporation clearly did it once. But my side of the street is clean and I have no interest in picking up a broom or adding to refuse on the other side of the street. Yeah. Not my problem. Yeah. So people can have their theories. I have my feelings about not doing the show anymore. But you'd have to show me why that's a fruitful relationship for me to have with my network for the next 9 months for me to engage in that speculation. Because I have had great relationship with CBS. It's one of the reasons why this was so surprising and so shocking that there was no preamble to this. But I meant what I said the next night after I found out. They've been great partners.
The Tiffany Network, yeah.
Yeah, they really have. They've been very supportive. Like it took us 6 to 9 months to find our legs. Even before people watched the show, we didn't quite figure out what we wanted to do. It didn't come fully assembled out of the box the way the Colbert Report did. They stood by us and they were very supportive and they gave us what we needed. And we found it and we delivered for them what we wanted. I mean, you're number one. Why do you want to be number one? To brag? No.
I was going to ask if you're competitive.
What? Well, yeah, of course you're competitive. but I really like the other guys. We're all friends. I didn't want to be number one to let me show you. The best reason to be number one is that the network does not fuck with you. That is the best reason to be number one. And we enjoyed 9 unfucked years. Really?
You alluded to it. There's kind of like a macro conversation about does the late night format even make sense anymore?
What they said it.
Right.
I'm just telling you what they said.
Right. And
it might be. I don't know. You can't really do a show in the Ed Sullivan Theater at 11:35 on CBS with a band and sketches and field shoots and stuff like that for the cost of a podcast. And if you look and say, oh, look, this is what a podcast makes, and this is what these shows make, then you're keeping these shows on because you love the form. or because you love that it's one of the oldest forms in television, which through radio is connected to vaudeville. Like there's this great tradition of what we do. So to me, it seems indispensable as part of some Americans' experience or daily experience. But I can understand from a business point of view, they go, well, that is meaningless to me as someone who has to answer to our board of directors and investors.
I'm curious what you feel like the great affirmative case is for a show like yours.
Why should shows like mine continue to exist, or like Kimmel
Yes.
or Jimmy or whatever?
And I said everyone plays a great affection, which is why
I
I'm
said,
saying
why? Oh, we're like your friend who at the end of the day paid attention to the news more than you did. And you're aware of it. You just didn't do the detail work that we did. And then we curate that back to you at the end of the day. But it's really more about how we feel about it, or I as the person who like is the vehicle for that, how we felt about today. All those things that might have made you confused or angry or anxious or happy or surprised or something like that. I feel that way at the camera, or to the audience, really. I'm really performing for the audience and the camera captures it, as opposed to the Colbert Report, which was I played for the camera and the audience got to witness it.
Yeah.
I share those feelings with the audience, and they laugh or they don't laugh, and that there's a sense of community there. And the demographics of these shows are interesting too. It's about a third. It's about a third Republicans, third Democrats, third Independents. You'd think, people perceive me as this sort of lefty figure. I think I'm more conservative than people think. I just happen to be talking about a government in extremis.
Yeah.
And so what I'm giving you is my reaction video to the day. and my reaction video is like the Scream.
Yeah.
In a way. but with jokes.
Well, with jokes, yeah.
And so that makes people perceives me as more left necessarily than I am, because I'm not sure of what other reaction would be an honest one. It's hard to have a balanced reaction to the idea of troops on street of a city that actually is not undergoing an invasion. Is any other reaction honest other than to
horror? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but jokes about the horror, not the horror.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't
Which is
like
yes.
one. And so those two things together, or those three things together, is the beginning of a case of why these shows should exist.
So prior to this show, you played a character for a long time.
Previously on Stephen Colbert.
Right. And then, so how has it been spending the last 10 years, more or less, as, like, would you call the guy who hosts your show yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, it's a performance persona.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when it's very close to me, especially if there's something that cannot receive a joke. I choose not to talk about tragedy on my show because I think that's sacred, but there are things that are unavoidable that are happening in our country. And because I talk about what's happening in America today, I mean, just the other night with the tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk, that required me to, at the very top of the show, just to say, listen, I just want to tell you, we created everything for you tonight.
And that was you. Yeah.
That's me. I mean, me isn't always sad, horrified guy, but yeah, it's me. I don't generally say or do things that I don't mean on the show unless I'm in character, like in a sketch. Whereas at the Colbert Report, it was almost nothing. Basically, it was Catholic and Lord of the Rings were the only two things that we had in common.
How do you look back on that character now?
Fondly. A lot of people thought you couldn't sustain it, and I always thought I could, because a mask is such a gift for me, at least as a performer, because I'm really, all my training and my entire career until I did the show was as an actor.
Yeah.
And the Colbert Report was a almost 10-year scene.
Yeah.
That I did. And we had a Bible for the character. We kept like a running Bible. What does it believe? What does it not believe? What's his back history? What's his relationship with other people? Why was he a friend of Pinochet Ugarte? All those kind of things.
There was a moment when it really felt like people thought, I think in retrospect, I had forgotten about this energy, but it was there, that you and Jon Stewart were going to like save the Republic somehow, I
promise you, we did not share that feeling.
That was going to be my question.
I said to John, right as we're coming to the end, especially when reflecting back on the rally to restore sanity / march to keep fear alive. He was doing the rally to restore sanity, and I was doing the march to keep fear alive. And I like to remind him that I won, that we kept fear alive. But one of the things that I said to John toward the end of when we were doing those shows together, I said, you know what's funny to me is everybody thought that we wanted to be players. Like when we did that, people were like, well, they're trying to actuate the youth vote. Nothing, no part of it. We saw that was a new context. People were doing their own big outside rallies, and it had nothing to do with us trying to be political players. You know, there's a great moment in The Lord of the Rings when Gandalf says, one of our great hopes here is that it is not entered into Sauron's darkest dreams that we would ever want to destroy the ring. And so I always felt that John was Frodo and I was Sam. And all I wanted to do was help him. Like, we wanted to throw the ring in the fire. Now, what is the ring? I guess it's power for the sake of power, as opposed to power for the sake of service. Do you know?
Do you feel like that came with you to the Tonight Show? Excuse me, the late.
That's all right. That's all right. You can call it the Tonight Show.
The Tonight Show, which
Dick Cavett show. When I took over for Cavett.
Yeah, the Johnny Carson show.
The Johnny Carson show. Purposefully not at first, actually. We tried to avoid politics, actually, at first, because we'd done 10 years of it. I really wanted to find a way to lay down that sword and shield down by the riverside, because it doesn't mean no good. I'm not a warrior. I'm a comedian. You don't want to be the guy in the front of the parade with a banner. And it wasn't until the political campaign of 2016 really started cooking that I realized, again, that you cannot do these shows unless you're talking about something you really care about that's in the daily conversation. And then it wasn't so much, I cared about what at the time seemed like a dangerous thing, to clothe someone like Donald Trump, to clothe him in the power and dignity of the office, because then people only see the clothing of the dignity and the power of that office. Then it provides dignity and status to everything the person does.
Did you then, or do you now enjoy having to react to Donald Trump every night?
No, I don't. I'm grateful to be able to react, because again, it's a selfish endeavor. I get a lot out of going out there and doing jokes about what happened today, no matter what happened today. But especially if I see something that's detrimental to the American people and to the reputation of a country that is irreplaceable. There'll never be another America. But it doesn't mean it's invincible. Well, that weighs on your heart, just as an American, to see that. I mean, depending on point of view. And I'm grateful to go do the jokes. But your question was,
did you enjoy reacting?
Do I enjoy?
Yeah.
I enjoy going doing the jokes and being with the audience. When he wasn't in office, I think we went 3 years without saying his name.
Really?
Yeah. And if he made news, we would just come up with some nickname. Matter of fact, we invited the audience to give me new nicknames so I wouldn't run out. You know, so you're not just doing like Cheeto Man or whatever, something like that. And we would credit people. If I said the name, we would put their name up on the screen with their Twitter handle or something like that. I love not talking about him.
When he was reelected, was there a part of you, not the citizen part, but the professional part that was like, I can't believe we have to do this again? I
mean, that would be all parts of me then. Yeah. Like, like, I know how to titrate poison. Do you know what I mean?
Better than most, I think.
Well, you titrate poison with your own jokes and your own editorial stance on it, and how you push back on what you think is the lie under, that is telling you this is vitamins. But there's no doubt that it's poisonous.
Is there a part of you, I kind of asked this earlier, but is like, I'm going to be free soon? I'm not going to have to think about this?
Well, I mean, I'm an American. I'm not going to be free of it. I'm still going to care. I'll miss the ability to go out there and make jokes on it.
You'll miss it.
I will miss every aspect of my job other than wearing makeup.
Do you feel like it's become intrinsic to your identity somehow to be the host of the show?
No, I know who I am without this. I didn't do any of this till I was 41. I was given one of these jobs old. You
have talked about being younger and struggling with anxiety and depression and finding the solution in work and performing and writing, creating.
I've had sort of recreational anxiety for a lot of my life, starting in my teens. I had different answers then. Well, that was checking out was basically back then, just never doing my schoolwork, only reading the books I want, eventually smoking a lot of weed, stuff like that, which I passed through and moved on. But when I was 30, I had nervous breakdown. And I was newly married, didn't know what I was going to do, suddenly was panicked that I had chosen something to do with my life that wouldn't give me the life I wanted. And I don't mean that I wouldn't be successful, but that somehow the life I had chosen would not allow me to be a husband and a father in the way that I wanted to be, because of the demands of how hard it is to, well, the sacrifices you have to make. There's no art without discipline, and there's no discipline without sacrifice. I believe that's Antonio Jades, the Spanish flamenco dancer. And so I was worried that I had set myself to do the kind of work I would do, that I wouldn't be able to live the kind of life I wanted. And I had a nervous breakdown. And I tried Xanax and stuff like that, but I could still feel the gears smoking. You know what I mean? I couldn't hear them anymore, but I could smell them smoking. Yeah. And so I stopped, and I just raw dogged it. And I woke up one morning and my skin wasn't on fire. And I'm like, what was different? Oh, it was the first day of rehearsal for the new show.
So that's what I'm asking is.
And that's what I'm answering. It's just like it's a long answer. It's not like, comedy keeps me sane. No, making things, making anything. I probably could do it if I was going to build a boat. If I'm making something, there's something about that act of creating that gives me great solidity. It puts my feet on the ground. I love process. And I woke up one day and I thought, oh my God, I get to go work. And then I thought, oh no, now I can never stop working. Because I used to think that. Now I actually think that a lot of those things that caused me great anxiety, I have already passed through the fire of that trial in that stage of my life. And I'm not a young man full of doubt anymore. And I think that if I stopped work, if I chose to next May, I'm done and I get a, catamaran and just sail, I don't think that would come back. I really feel like that's no longer who I am.
Is there a part of you that's tempted to get a catamaran and just sail when May comes around?
Yeah, there is.
Do you fantasize about walking away from showbiz?
No, because I love creating things, and I love I still want to work with the people I work with. I don't know how you work with 200 people. I brought them all out for the Emmys, so we could all celebrate together. Because I love them, and I don't mistake work for family. Family's your family, and your work's your work. But my affection and my appreciation for them is genuine and deep, and they have profoundly changed my life and made my life better, and taught me how to be a leader by being leaders themselves. I just love making things. And so
you're not like, oh, we'll see. You're like, no, we're going to keep going. We're going to make something else.
Yeah. Why not?
Stephen Colbert, thank you for your time.
Oh, pleasure.